Can we take everyone off mute now?
Hey, everybody's coming in. We got a pretty good crew here today. So take yourselves off mute if you like. I think we got the mute put on there. Dean Cameron, how are you?
Doing really good. How is everybody?
Good, good, good. Mike Lyons, you're there. Jill Thornton's here. Ryan Curtin. Got the famous Paul Kelly. Show your face, Paul. Stan Scholl's here. Lori Nevin. Hope I don't miss anybody. Ollie, Paul, Steve, Orest. Hope I said that right. John, Ryan Curtin. Boom. Say hello. Dave Nate, how are you, buddy?
Faces. Lots of new faces. Hi, everyone.
Howdy, howdy.
Great to see you. Always great to see everybody.
Happy Friday.
Yes.
So Jill Thornton's on the call. I want to say hi to Jill and call out the Center of Excellence for Aerospace and Advanced Manufacturing out of the Everett area. And we're going to do enable. And so Jill, say hello to everybody. If you got to take yourself off mute, just say hi. She's the interim director. Everybody, or most everyone's familiar with the Center of Excellence for Advanced Manufacturing and Aerospace. But we've been working with Jill on some initiatives. Say hi.
Hello, everybody. I'm happy to be here. This is actually my first Factory Friday, so happy to see you all today. If you aren't familiar with the Center of Excellences, we serve as kind of the intermediary between the community and technical colleges in Washington State and our industry partners. So, and specifically for our Center of Excellence, we focus on aerospace and advanced manufacturing. So I'll put my contact information in the chat. So if you ever want to connect, just feel free to reach out anytime. Thank you.
Good to have you, Jill. Good to have you. Nikki's on the call. She's our chairwoman for PNAA, our fearless leader. And
in the car again.
In the car
again. This is, getting back to real life now. I will be doing this from the car more often.
All right. We have a new friend, Rod Fleck from Forks. He is the city attorney and planner for Forks. Longtime friend of mine, and we've done lots of adventures and visiting what's going on around the state in the past and some political arenas. Say hi to everybody, Rod.
Good afternoon. And also the city of Forks has 2 airports, so we're somewhat familiar with the aviation user end, not necessarily the aviation manufacturing side.
Right. And
The
they've
first time we've ever had somebody from Forks, so thanks, Rod.
good to have you, Rod.
He obviously doesn't know me, so.
All right. Well, good. Well, why don't we get rolling? Lisa, if you can bring up the PowerPoint, we'll get the ball going here. Get the ball rolling. So, good afternoon, everybody. Dale King here with PNAA's Factory Friday. And you're going to see a bit more about Altec here in a little bit, but we have some ground rules we'd love to work from. This platform is about people connecting and learning about each other. And when COVID hit and we weren't able to get out and meet each other at the pub or do factory tours, we decided this is something we're gonna do to keep people connecting. So we're down to doing this just once a month now, but it's still a great time. And have your contact information ready to copy and share in the chat. And we welcome you. As you can see, the rules here are very inclusive. We want you to give input. We're going to queue up some items to discuss, some issues going on in the industry. And we would love for your input. And if you're so bold or comfortable, you're welcome to just, raise your hand, speak up and say, hey, what's going on with this or that? And then otherwise you can put your questions in the chat, but we love to hear from you. So we're all friends here and there's a lot to learn and share from each other. We're gonna go through a few things here. Lisa, just once we keep moving. Next slide. So we have a couple of new corporate circle sponsors. We have Alaska Airlines and then also Altec. Altec we're going to be talking to today. And these are some of the sponsors, and we'll see another slide with many sponsors on it that really represents the folks that, these are the folks that keep us moving. Northwest Aerospace News is right there. News Magazine, that's Dean Cameron on the call. Say hi to everybody, Dean. You've already done it.
How are you?
We work with, so these are the big sponsors that really kind of keep our lights on, and they've been a great support along with our membership, because, you know, what do we got if we don't have members? So we love our members, we love our member sponsors, from Boeing to Snohomish County, Painfield and Snohomish Airport, Moss Adams and Pro Shop. Everybody knows Paul Van Meter, I think, by now. Sikasui, AJAC, Baker Hostetler, Impact Washington, Cyberstreams, Alaska Airlines, as I mentioned before, Orion, Deal Aviation, Altec, CG Tech, Vericat, and that's it for now. And of course, Northwest Aerospace News. So I already mentioned Dean, but Mike, good to see you. Mike, grab Mike's information, just put it in the chat. So we've got some events coming up here shortly. We're actually doing some in-person events while we can. We have Orion Industries this next week, and we're going to be doing a shower, actually an Aspire Award winner for 2021 conference. Lisa, can you talk to that a little bit?
Yeah, Christina over there at Orion created the learning pod for employees there to bring their kiddos to work and learn and work. So she really inspired us, and that is why they got the award. So you'll see the learning pod and you'll get a tour of their facility on the 24th. So it's really, really inspiring what they're doing over there. So come join us for that. That's at 2 to 4 on Friday, September 24th. And then directly following that same day is Oktoberfest. If you haven't seen our fun LinkedIn video yet, it's out there. It's a little quirky, but we had fun with it. Oktoberfest is always a blast. This is our 11th time doing it. Thanks to sponsors like KeyBank and Wave, we're able to continue holding this event. And I know I have my German attire. Dale, did you get your lederhosen yet?
Yeah, I might be the king with no clothes, so I don't know. I have to still solve that problem. But you know what? It's funny. I was just thinking too. It seems like every year the Oktoberfest follows our general meeting. I'm not sure if that's on purpose or why the timing is there, but we'll have our general meeting the day before on Thursday, and you know, Mike Barsowski from Orion is actually on our board, and I really appreciate Mike. He really does a lot of work in the background to support our industry. So just a call out for Mike there.
Yeah, so that'll be a fun one. If you can make it, come out. It'll be a good time. Purely networking. So it's always fun.
This is your one chance you get to see Brian in lederhosen, so you got to be there. And he loves it if you outdress him. So if you want to do that, you're welcome. So
I will be there. I'm actually in Seattle all next week.
Dean, do you have lederhosen?
I do not have lederhosen, and I'm not going to wear my kilt.
you would look great in either. So
Wrong country.
all right.
Okay.
And continuing with our events. So October 7th, we have the Leadership Symposium. We're queuing up a lot of leaders to speak on a variety of topics. And we're hoping that attendees will walk away with new skills during this kind of dynamic change, this rapid pace of change that's happening. It's for aspiring leaders, or, you know, maybe staff that's you know, wants to develop personal development. So that'll be on October 7th down at Doubletree in Tukwila.
The good one. And that's all day.
10 to 4. Yep. 10 to 4.
All right. So, you know, coming up on October 12th, you know, there's been a lot on cybersecurity lately, and we've taken a nice slice of that. We were at the conferences last year. We talked about cybersecurity. We've been pretty consistent through the year to just continue to touch on this. There's a lot of information and a lot of culture changes happening with people's businesses. So, you know, we're going to be talking about cybersecurity on October 12th. It's really a Business Oregon sponsored event. F&I will be there, and then U.S. Commercial Service. And the reason we're doing an international touch is that people or businesses are being affected down the supply chain, as there's requirements in various areas. Just because you're not a prime doesn't mean you don't need to kind of bone up on this. And so we're seeing some kind of ripple effect from the cybersecurity requirements that are coming forward in defense and also in aerospace. And so, yeah, we're going to keep talking about this. We're probably not going to hear much more about this until the conference. We're going to be supporting some other people's efforts like Impact Washington, but Be there October 12th. And what's next? Ryan.
Yeah, thanks. Coming up, save the date. We're going to be doing our 21st annual Aerospace conference. Once again, the Linwood Convention Center. This will be February 7th through 12th, or 10th rather. And it is going to be similar to what we've seen in the past. We'll have 3 days of speakers. We'll have an exhibit hall with a new twist this year, our B2B meetings where you can meet with buyers directly at aerospace OEMs and tier 1 companies. And we'll have some factory tours. So once again, mark your calendar for that. And then if you have interest in becoming a sponsor or an exhibitor or any other way that you'd like to be involved in the conference, please reach out to myself and we can begin talking about those things.
And Paul Kelly, I'm going to do shout out to Paul Kelly real quick. He's our sponsor guru. And so if you're looking at getting involved in any way, you're always welcome to talk to Paul. And if, Paul, if you can put your contact information in the chat feed, that would be great. And people can reach you directly and get the ball rolling. So
Will do.
Here we are. We're 2 today. And it's about 11 after 12, so we're going to just jump into this. Welcome, everybody. We are touring Altek Aerospace today, and it is my pleasure to have Mike Marzetta on the call, and he is going to be leading us, and then he also has Kelly Kelly from OLI. Sorry, I was getting distracted on Cindy was coming in the room. But we have Kelly here, Maloney as well, and we're going to talk about her role in rebranding the company and just some things going forward. So we're going to have a great discussion. And I'm going to introduce Mike. And Mike's going to, we're going to move into a short video with Rick Taylor. And he's going to talk quickly about his staff and some of his leadership. And then we're going to go into a quick video. And it's about 12 minutes. And Rick Taylor, and even though he's not here, he is here. And he's going to take us through the shop, and we're going to get an overview, and then be ready to have your questions ready. And we will have a great conversation after that. So Mike, say hello to everybody.
Howdy, folks.
And you want to introduce, Mike is the president. Mike, how long have you been the president there?
18 years, I believe.
How long have you worked there?
You know, we hover around 200 folks, plus or minus. Right now, a little bit minus,
Okay.
given the times.
Okay. So we are going to jump in some conversation about workforce in a little bit here. But why don't you, Lisa, why don't we move to the next one, and I'll go ahead and queue up the video. And why don't you do a quick introduction to for Rick and for the video. I know you and Rick have worked together for quite a while, so great introduction for him would be terrific.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Little bit about Altec. You know, our core technologies are plastic injection molding and precision machining, and a whole lot of value-added stuff that you can kind of see listed there, ranging from pad printing to painting to bonding to EFMI, RFI shielding, assembly and testing, et cetera, et cetera. Essentially, whatever our customer asks us to do. We've got some pretty cool capabilities in injection molding. I believe we have the largest, we can make the largest part in the Pacific Northwest. I think you have to go down to California, about halfway down, to find somebody that can make a bigger part than us. And machining, you know, we do all the coolest stuff up to including 9-axis mill turn machining, which is essentially, you know, a 5-axis mill combined with 2 lathes all in one machine. It's pretty tricky. Yeah, and we service a lot of industries. If you look up to the left, aerospace, medical space, technology, defense, et cetera, et cetera. And we've been working with Kelly Maloney from OLI for, well, basically ever since COVID started. We're like, oh crap, we need to focus more on marketing and rebranding when they started to plug up orders. And Kelly's helped us to sort of rebrand the organization. We've always been pretty highly diversified, but I don't think we've leveraged it to this point, and I'll let kind of Kelly pick it up from there if that's okay.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Mike. I appreciate that. Hi, everyone. So Kelly Maloney from OLI Communications. And we did start OLI during the height of the pandemic, kind of to address a lot of the challenges that aerospace and space companies were being challenged by during the pandemic, and to help them position for the next, the next phase. And this is where we kind of are right now. And Mike and his leadership team were really ahead of the game. They knew that this is what they need to do. Actually, Mike and I have been talking about rebranding Altec for a little while, even before the pandemic, but it became very real during the pandemic. And so he mentioned the 5 different divisions. They had been kind of in those spaces previously, but we created a brand hierarchy and really helped develop where, how we put emphasis on certain things for certain divisions and the capabilities in those divisions. But part of the branding included not just new logo, but also, tone and taglines, brand promise, the things that you would typically find in a brand. And we've incorporated that into every aspect of the Altec, all of their assets, which include their website, social media, their advertising, and so forth. So you'll see that woven into everything you see from now on. And I guess that's it. I think that we're going to get into right now into the virtual tour that Rick Taylor is as Dale mentioned, Rick Taylor, he's in London right now, but he has been kind enough to visit with us virtually through this video, which we did before he left. So.
Great. We're going to go ahead and do that now.
Hello, welcome to Altec. I'm Rick Taylor, and I'm going to take you on a tour of our facility. I'd like to start the tour here in our tool room, where we still build about 20% of the molds in-house. Primarily, we still use this area for mold repair and mold modifications. This machine is a good example of a high-speed vertical mill in a tool room environment. This particular mill runs at speeds over 20,000 RPMs. It has a large table size that allows for a wide variety of mold sizes to be machined. High-speed machining in a tool room environment replaces traditional machining practices of generating 3 to 4 electrodes and burning the part geometry with EDM. High-speed machining directly into tool steel allows us to dramatically reduce the time it takes to build a mold. In our mold storage, mold maintenance department, we store roughly half of the molds that are currently in production. The other half are stored at point of use. We designed and built our own mold splitter, which is essential for opening very large tools and presenting them 90 degrees to make it easier for the technician to work on them. Every tool that is just finished production comes through this area for inspection, cleaning, maintenance, or any repairs needed. So when the molds are stored, they're ready to go back out into production. This is our injection molding department, where we have 35 presses ranging from 40 ton to 1,450 ton. This is our A row. This is where the largest tonnage machines reside. They range from 950 ton to 1,450 ton machines in this area. All the machines are equipped with robotics and are serviced with a 15-ton crane. We have molds that exceed 30,000 pounds. Here's a good example. This mold weighs a little over 33,000 pounds, so we have to load it in halves. It produces a right and left trim piece that's over 7 feet tall. That's why the mold has to be so large. As you can see, every mold in this area is very large, too heavy to move with a forklift, so they have to reside here under the crane. This mold is for a sink surround for a commercial airplane. As you can see, there's two molds here that are identical. One's for a left and the other one's for a right, depending on which side of the plane the laboratory is located. Next are the B and C rows, where the presses range from 200 ton to 750 ton. We have redundancy throughout this department. If a machine goes down, we have another piece of equipment that can fill that void very quickly. For example, that 1,450 ton machine, which is a pretty good sized machine, we have a wide platen 950 with the same shot size. We do a lot of close tolerance molding here for the medical, space, and aerospace industries using a variety of high heat engineered resins. We also specialize in insert molding, film insert molding, soft touch overmolding, and gas assist molding, to name a few. Most of the machines are outfitted with gravimetric blenders, allowing us to create custom colors right at the press. Our whole goal here is to put a finished part in the box within every cycle of the press. We move complete work cells up to the presses as most of the equipment is on wheels. A mobile work cell may have 2 or 3 sonic welders to accommodate different insert sizes, a pad printing machine, a 5-axis router, a hot foil stamper, and we also install a variety of hardware. If the secondary operations can be done within the cycle time of the press, then we can put a finished part in the box, and that helps us to control our costs. This is our machine shop where we have over 30 CNC machines, with some of those being the most advanced technology available today. This multi-axis mill turn has 2 spindles, 2 turrets, and a milling head that rotates 180 degrees that services either spindle. It's capable of doing some very unique part geometries within one cycle of the machine. Aside from our high-speed horizontal cells and our multi-axis mill turns, we also have a lot of CNC mills and lathes here that we will typically assemble those in what we call a configure-to-order work cell. We will design the cell for a unique part geometry that dramatically reduces our lead time to our customer, as well as our throughput, and has a real positive effect on the quality of the products coming out of that cell. We have 2 separate high-speed horizontal mill cells with linear pallet shuttle systems that are managed through cell controllers. Each machine is equipped with its own tool hive that houses over 300 tools per spindle, complete with redundant tooling, allowing us to man these cells for only 2 shifts, and they typically run around the clock. For tool monitoring, we use 3 different methods. One is simply cutter pressure or cutter torque. The other is time, and the last one being physical tool measurement. When a machine detects a tool that is expired, it automatically sends it to an unload station, grabs a new tool, and goes right back to work where it left off. The cell controllers manage each cell independently. It uses color recognition to alert the machinist as to which pallets are under the spindle being machined, which pallets have completed and need the material changed, and which pallets have fresh material on them and are ready to run. This highly visual system really simplifies the process for the operators. This is our value-added service area where we will pretty much perform whatever the customer's needs are. Altec has always gone to great lengths to meet the needs of our customers. In this case, we have adopted hydrogen heat treating in a vacuum environment. We had a custom furnace designed and built to our requirements for the finished product. Now we have 3 furnaces, the last of which our maintenance team built entirely from the ground up. This hydrogen heat treating process is essential for purifying the material for optimum performance of the finished parts. This is mission critical as these products cannot fail as they're used throughout commercial aircraft. This completes our virtual tour of Altec. We really appreciate you taking the time to watch this video. Although it's virtual, we would love to welcome you to Altec to see for yourself all that we have to offer. From all of us at Altec, thank you very much.
Cool.
Nothing
That
but
was
that.
a fun video.
Okay, well, I'll just, since I'm not sure who's supposed to be talking right now, so I will just go on. Thank you all for watching, really appreciate that. And it was a fun video to make. The Altec team is amazing, and it's really a partnership. I think that Mike can speak a lot more to that, but I don't want to take away from Dale. Are you on here, Dale?
Yeah, I'm just fiddling with my Zoom. So
Gotcha.
He's in awe. He's like in total awe. He's just trying
I am in awe.
He's trying to
Right,
break through.
right. Well, if you want to, just let me say, if you want to see more videos, go to the website, because we have a whole series of videos on the website, and it's really fun. And we kind of played with the music a bit. That music was really upbeat, but we've also got, what are the other, we've got Mission Impossible in one. What's the other one, Mike?
Fun.
Star
What?
Wars, London
Star
Symphony
Wars,
Orchestra.
Yeah, so want to have fun. Anyway, so go ahead, Dale.
So Mike, we've talked about several things here, and some of the topics that we had talked about. You talked about some material shortages and stuff, but let's talk first of all about your corporate culture, and we'll get into some of the industry issues here in a little bit. But I know you're really proud of your corporate culture. You're very intentional about it. Can you speak to that and how that's been developed over the years?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Dale. Well, it's hard to say exactly where we started, and it's, you know, it's a continuous effort that's ongoing, but I've just got a lot of sports in my background. And, you know, when I graduated from college sports to the corporate America, there was a significant difference, I noticed. I'm like, well, how can everybody get so darn excited about putting an orange ball through a ring? You know, but here we're making things that save people's lives, keep airplanes, you know, en route, da, 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 da. And so we ought to at least be able to get people as excited about that things are in the real world. And, you know, and, you know, part of most really good team cultures in the sports arena, there's just a significant amount of camaraderie, and, you know, everybody knows these things. Not as many people know how to apply them in the work environment. And, you know, so how it carries out here is there's just a very rapid exchange of ideas and dialogue that take place both horizontally and vertically throughout the organization. A lot of informal networks that just engage when challenges and opportunities present themselves. And, you know, we move forward with minimal conflict. The reason we can do that is because everybody's sort of like friends here, you know, friends and colleagues, and we like to mix the two. And, you know, we really try to shape the culture with the employee in mind, just like a customer. Employee is a customer, and we want to shape that experience to make that optimal. And that's key. And when you work on it for 15 or 20 years, you start to get pretty good at it. And I think, you know, we're pretty well known for, you know, being one of the best areas to work for around, I think. At least I think we are. But as a result.
That's really good. And I know you've been really excited about it, and I want to give you a chance to talk about it. Employees today is such a big topic of retention and then the shortage. And, you know, what are you doing right now to build up your employees and bring in new employees? When it comes to like training, are you working with the local schools? What's going on there?
Yeah, well, the immediate challenge is the same immediate challenge that most everybody in the world's having, is they just can't find enough people, period, whether they're skilled or unskilled. You know, we've got some shortages in skilled labor. We've got some shortages in entry-level positions and every position out throughout the company. And well, the first most important thing to do that I think we and our leadership and our company's done well is stay calm and not panic, and, you know, give 110%. But, you know, just like a sports team, you know, you got to keep the train on the tracks if you want to have high performance. You know, I think the second best, or the other really good thing that we did, is just being a good place to work. Helps a lot. And you know, we're running all the ads and doing all the things that everybody else is, and significantly greater than 50% of the new people that we've hired have come by referral from current employees, and we hadn't even encouraged that yet. And we're like, we just noticed it, and it's like, wow, there's something here. You know, we should, you know. And then recently, just a couple of days ago, we sort of capitalized on it and included, you know, created kind of an internal incentive program, which we don't know if it's going to work yet or not. We're just trying to reinforce what was already taking place. And I don't feel bad asking people, because it's just like, you love your job? They're like, yeah, I love this. Like, well, let's spread the love, bro. You know, and, and we'll pay you a little bonus to do it. That's pretty good, huh? You know,
Good.
And we're real careful not to over incentivize, because and quick to explain that we want to bring in the right kind of people, you know. So yeah, that's some of what we're doing.
Great. I'm sorry, I'm having technical difficulty. Is everybody else able to see the screen? We don't have a PowerPoint up, but we should be in like gallery view or something. Is everybody able to see everything?
I can see everybody fine. There's a little bit of hum back in your background, Dale.
I think Lisa might be having some difficulty too. So never been here before, but we'll just keep going. And does anybody else want to pipe up there, talk about your employee issues or
Well,
anything that
I'd like
you're
to
doing?
share a little bit. My manufacturing days, I spent 28 years just down the road from Altec. And so
Yep.
had a long-term relationship with Altec as a company. Seemed like every client we had for our process was working down the street with Altec. And, you know, I can tell you firsthand that, you know, you can get a job once, but it takes customer service to keep it. And, you know, Altec's done an amazing job. And so it was really nice to be able to integrate and work with them on a number of projects, a number of aerospace projects. They've always done an amazing job, amazing company.
Thanks, Dean.
I'll expect that check, Mike.
Yeah, I don't you remember I pre-wired it to you?
Yeah. Oh, there you go.
Oh,
All right.
yeah. There you go.
That's good. So let's talk a bit about, you know, upcoming, you were talking about material shortages. That was something, Mike, you wanted to talk about. Let's go ahead and touch on that. We have some other things to talk about as well, but let's get into the material shortage and then we'll circle back with some of the other topics, Kelly, that you and I had talked about.
Yeah, you know, the material shortages we're handling just very much the same as the labor shortage. You know, the power of having an awesome culture doesn't buy us a whole lot in that scenario. You know, one thing that a newer idea that we've had that has yet to be determined is, you know, we are anchored pretty well and have good cash reserves. So, you know, we're going to try to start offering suppliers like, you know, 0-day terms. You know, we'll just pay upon receipt if you can move us up in the food chain. You know, it's like, you know, we'll pay you the day we get it if that's going to help get it here faster. And just keeping people's minds in perspective about, and I may say people, I mean, well, leadership first, because in times like these, people follow their leaders. And if the leaders are panicked or frustrated or angry or anything but, you know, steadfast, people will follow that behavior. And so, and, you know, top to bottom, we just have remained steadfast and try not to think about those things we can't control very much. I mean, we think about them, but not allow them to emotionally impact us, because that would just be wasted energy. To fret and argue and have conflict around things we can't control, and to differentiate between the things we can control and things we can't, and focus all our positive energy on those things we can control.
Right.
And, you know, trying to communicate that to the customer as well, because those are the folks that are putting the most pressure on us, you know, in a very empathetic way. And, you know, I'd like to say we're batting 1,000, but it's really just a degrees of pain at this point in time. And I feel like we've released a lot of pain, but it's not easy yet.
You know, the materials issue is an ongoing question, and we've got some people on the line with a lot of background in that. And thinking about Nikki, are you there, Nikki? Are you able to speak to some of the material shortages and what you're seeing some of the manufacturers going through?
You know, I don't know of any, Lou. I don't know of any specifically on the material side just yet. I anticipate it probably will be. And actually, Lori might have some input on that. I know that she's really connected to the supply chain, especially on that side of things. Lori, do you have anything on that?
Lori Nevins, she sits on our board as well from Triumph.
Yeah, I attended a supply chain webinar just a couple days ago, and one of the material managers specified that stainless steel was very, very difficult to acquire, which is why we're seeing a lot of long lead time in like household appliances for one. Some of the more precious metals, he also indicated, were difficult to get. And then some of the issues are just with the trucking industry to try to get those, steel materials to the machine shops. But stainless steel was the one that was called out.
There's pretty big issues in the plastics industry as well, depending on the type of the resin and the chemical that's used in it, because some chemicals are still in large supply, and other chemicals that are a little more harder to come by are in short supply. And so depending, and unfortunately, a lot of the super cool engineering resins that are used in aerospace are specifically being impacted by chemical shortages at the raw material supply side.
Yeah, that's a good point. Some of the epoxies that we're using that are near expiration we're having problem getting. So I think we have to watch our expiration dates much more closely and order in, much more in advance than what we're used to doing.
One of the things that I know that's been impacted, any resin that's utilized to make clear plastic is in short supply, because if you look around, there's more doggone shields and barriers and everything else. So it's feast or famine, right? So some companies are experiencing famine, but the feast is companies that make clear plastic sheet can't keep up. And so raw materials in that industry is they're hurting. You're out for a long lead time if you're ordering clear plastic sheet.
Right. That's good. It's good. Well, one of the things we want to talk about too, Mike, is your capabilities and your different divisions. We had a bit about the market diversification. We want to talk a bit about the rebranding, but let's speak to the capabilities and divisions and how you're managing that. Maybe some historical projects that you're that are memorable, and maybe some clients that you've worked with.
Cool. Well, being, homegrown in Spokane, Washington, Liberty Lake, it's much different business environment over here, where we started as a, garage shop 40 years ago. And just by necessity grew in a diversified way, because, when you're a garage shop, you're servicing the local environment, which, included at the time, a lot of telecommunications, a lot of, energy, a lot of things like that, as well as aerospace, a lot of medical and things like that. And actually, it's probably the opposite of what you think, but, longer, not a whole lot longer than a decade ago, we sort of identified aerospace was that much of our pie. And we're like, oh yeah, this is a good growth industry. Let's do more of that, and we were kind of mostly at the tier 2, tier 3 level back then, didn't have all our shots and certifications, quickly adapted, got our AS certification, and started proactively marketing ourselves in the aerospace industry for diversification purposes. Now we're right back to where we started, where we may have let aerospace become a little too big piece of the pie. Prior to COVID, it was a little over 50%. The rest being in medical, defense, space, technology, et cetera, et cetera. That piece of the pie has shrunk a lot. In the meantime, we've backfilled quite a bit in those other industries, including adding on PPE, which is just a subset of medical as well. And but also recognize that as a necessary strategy going forward, because as often the case in history, one industry will do this while another one does that. And having a diversified portfolio allows us to maintain some semblance of stability in between, I think. So
now, you had mentioned medical in our conversations, that medical, Spokane is actually kind of a central hub for medical devices, going as far as, was it Wyoming or through Montana? I mean, it seemed like a huge geographic region that you market to.
Yes.
For medical devices. So, and a lot of your early business was primarily medical. and still is. But I found that interesting that, so much of the time being centered in such a core, strong urban area as we are, sometimes we don't comprehend how big a region can be like yours for medical devices, and how far you reach. So
Yeah.
with the different hospital districts.
Yeah, and how far we have to reach because, there's not that much in our backyard. I mean, we get kind of all the backyard stuff by default, just by being the cool kids on the block. But yeah, I mean, nobody from Seattle or California or Minneapolis or the East Coast is going to do business. Come find us.
Right.
We gotta reach out and be there, and that's it's yeah. Well,
Good.
there's challenges to being, in a rural community, but
Right.
the significant benefits is like, fewer labor shortages and things like that. So, pros and cons.
Right. Right. So let's talk a bit about your marketing and what's the future hold for Altec. Kelly has been really heavily involved with you. She's a long timer in aerospace and has been so important to aerospace in the past. And so she's got some great insights for you, I know. And what's the future? Love to hear from Kelly and talk about Ollie a little bit. And but also talk about just, what's the future hold?
Yeah. Well, Mike, do you want to start that, or do you want me to jump in?
Well, we about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, we're looking for the most awesomest person to help us marketing and rebrand. And it was just, the search took forever. And then we came across Kelly Maloney, who is clearly has Jedi powers. And yeah, we started taking her advice, and then I'll leave it to her to tell you the rest.
Great, thanks, Mike. I wish I could live up to that. Actually, Mike and I have been talking for a very long time, and it just really seemed to come together, like I mentioned earlier, during COVID. And he's part of the inspiration for us starting out OLI and naming it OLI, because OLI stands for outside looking in. And our goal was to partner with and team up with whomever we work with, whether it's a small project or a great big project like the one we have with Mike and his group. And so we just started our second year together, which is really exciting. And we do have things on the list of continuation for the branding, but a lot of it will be kind of really honing in on the different divisions and getting, kind of raising awareness about each of the divisions and what they do. That's a big part of it. We'll also be looking at a lot of the stuff that Altec does. They've got the stuff that they do, day in and day out, but they also have stuff they do that's really cutting edge. And we want to get the word out about that and kind of be at the forefront of some of those things. And
that was fun. That was fun, Kelly, is, talking to different manufacturers and hearing about manufacturers that love to have like almost problematic projects or the difficult projects.
Yeah, I think that's right up Mike's alley.
Yeah, he's an innovator.
He is an innovator. And thank you, Dale, for actually leading into that, because that's why the tagline is manufacturing innovation. Because they are innovators at Altec, and it's just a perfect way to sum it up. And Mike is he's a visionary. I mean, I might have the Jedi powers, but he's the visionary. So, but yeah, so we're going to be looking at a whole host of different activities in the future. And one thing we really want to do is set Altec apart, while you maintain the structure and the integrity of what Altec does. How do you tell that story that's unique? And so we're really looking at that. I think we have a really good start at it. I think we'll probably be getting a little more into some, I don't want to say literal government affairs, but we will potentially be, being more vocal about some of the bigger issues in aerospace, which As most of you probably know, is a little bit about my background, and Mike, when I was running the Aerospace Futures Alliance and the Washington State Space Coalition, Mike and his team were very vocal in some of the initiatives and the bill passage and that kind of stuff. And we'll go down some of those roads depending on what is needed. I don't know, Mike, what else do you want to talk about in terms of marketing and branding?
Just continued focused on diversification. I don't want to necessarily, we're not, we've sort of a victim of our own success from the standpoint of, aerospace has become a very large piece of our pie. And we feel like we have to grow those other diverse industries at least as fast as aerospace to keep things balanced. So it's quite a task.
Mm-hmm.
And, yeah, so we've got in each of those individual industries speaks their own language. And, I know that, the medical certification, 13485, AS 9100 are like just the same book with a few pages rearranged and, a little bit different verbiage. And so from a manufacturing standpoint of just high technology, high tolerance equipment is no different from us than what we're used to doing in terms of aerospace, and medical is almost identical. But from a marketing standpoint, significantly different.
That's very true. And I do have actually medical in my background as well. And so I can actually speak to that 100%, Mike. You're right. I mean, the regulations are there. There's a lot of regulatory requirements, but how you market it is different, and who you market it to and so forth is really different. There are these days some similarities, I would say, in terms of utilizing different channels that a lot of different industries are all using kind of the same channels in a lot of the cases, especially with social media. So there are some advantages there, but
Right.
But overall, I mean, they're kind of different, and there's you have to address each one of those for each of those different sectors.
Well, and I know some different members have had a lot of questions this past year about diversifying the markets, and I've heard some real from executive levels of real commitments to moving into markets.
Mm-hmm.
And dedicating resources, and even having really what sounds more like a business plan for a small business launch in some cases, to really invest. And if we want to be a part of medical, if we want to expand into medical or these different verticals, then we're going to have to spend the time in the energy space. Is a great example. I mean, I'm sure Stan could speak to that a bit, right? And so no, this is really good, and it's exciting to see companies that have grown to so many different areas. I think it sounds like you have walked into areas just being pulled into different markets, but at the same time, now you're really getting kind of grabbing it and going to the next level and saying, hey, how can we grow this? How can we grow our footprint in this region or this area? Right now, can you speak to how much percentages you have in each of the various markets, Mike?
Right now, it's pretty balanced. In terms of, like I said, pre-COVID, we were creeping over the 50% mark with aerospace. But I will say only a small percentage of that was Boeing direct, and that's,
Your space market's growing pretty good?
yeah.
Everybody wants to hear about space.
So today, medical technology, which would be things like lasers and underwater submarines and things that don't kind of fit anywhere, and then aerospace are about the same percentage of the business. And then space is growing, and that's a very proactive market we're trying to grow. Obviously,
what's interesting too about space is historically space has been really smaller projects. I mean, intense, complex projects, but not full production lines that you're going to be running year after year necessarily.
Yeah.
And so it's really interesting to see space shift, and then even the demand on aerospace supply chains to meet those needs.
Yeah, there's a little trick in there, which I think plays in our favor.
Yeah.
But at least the commercial space industry, at least as today is concerned, does not see their supply chain as the aerospace manufacturers, because the sense is that when aerospace makes its comeback, they're going to get backseated to Boeing and everybody else. So there's a huge barrier to penetrating those that market if you're too heavily lopsided into aerospace. And even we, with a very balanced portfolio, have to make a very strong argument, even with a balanced portfolio. And they are very leery of taking a back seat to aerospace when it comes back. And obviously the evidence that it's already coming back, and coming back fairly rapidly, at least from the ability to grow the manufacturing supply chain, it's coming back.
Right. So, well, folks, we're down to the last few minutes. Is there any comments? I cannot see the chat. So if you have a question,
Dale,
go ahead and jump in there.
Dale, this is Ali Barami. I don't know if I can hear me. Hopefully you can hear me. Okay.
Yeah.
First of all, I want to thank you for allowing me to be part of this session. It's very helpful, very beneficial. I started working with PNAA before it was Northwest Aerospace Association, going back to 90s, and also later on I was the ACO manager working with the company here. And the past 7 years I've been in Washington DC working at AIA, and some of the issues that you're talking about, many suppliers and things that were directly involved with the area that I was in, which was I was vice president for civil aviation activities at AIA. And then everything about workforce, the pandemic and issues over the past 4 years as associate administrator, that's our experience in this area. Part of the reason I'm here, I just want to get to meet the people and see how I can get into the aviation and help the region. I think that with the STEM education and the emphasis on the STEM and see what I can do, that's the reason I'm here. So I just want to let you know, so you're surprised, who is this guy and why is he part of this session? That was the reason, just to network, get some folks if they're interested. If I can help, I put my contact info. So I appreciate it very much. Thanks.
No, that's great. And Alec, yeah, I'll follow up with you if you I'm assuming you're registered with an email and everything, so I'll follow up. And you're certainly welcome to follow up with me at dking@pnaa.net.
Sure.
So yeah, I'd love to have some further conversation for sure.
Can I ask a question of Mike, Dale?
Sure.
Mike, I'm just curious if you have any advice for the companies that what they need to shift culturally to find that kind of diversification. I think that's a challenge that consistently comes up, and that what you said about taking a backseat to big OEMs and how they can make the changes they need to make culturally to find that diversification.
Which diversification? The industry segment diversification?
Yes.
Yeah, that's sort of more of an external culture. I think the challenge is changing the perception of your customer, which is, I just call external culture. You're just beliefs, interpretations, preperceptions, first impressions, just remanaging those. Yeah.
I don't mind jumping in really quickly on that too. Just if we were talking about space earlier, and everyone probably knows that space is, as Mike mentioned, they're really reticent to work with companies in the supply chain who have had a primary commercial aerospace focus for the reasons that Mike mentioned. But what we're finding is that relationships are really important with the space industry. So if you can get in, if you have an avenue to get in to anyone, it doesn't have to be procurement necessarily. Someone could drive you to procurement if you have a strong relationship, and you can tell the story and explain, where you're coming from and what the capabilities are. That's really, really important. But you have to back it up. Obviously, you have to be able to back it up. But that's part of, just changing the mindset externally.
Hey, Dale, real quick, just something that I'm learning by managing my own Zoom. If you look down where you type in the chat, and you'll see like a piece of paper and a smiley face and then 3 dots on the right. If you click on those three dots, you can save the chat. So all of the contact information that is in the chat, you'll be able to save. It'll go to your documents. It'll look like a OneNote sort of deal, and you can copy paste that into Word and you can actually read it. But that way you're able to maintain and see all of the LinkedIn and contact information.
Can everybody see that?
Yep.
I'll get it afterwards. I don't even have that up, Dean. Honestly, I'm flying blind. So, but if everybody can see that, that's a good one. I know I've learned about that one recently. I appreciate you pointing that out. It's a good place to capture all that information. So we're right at the top of the hour, everybody. And I just want to do another call out to our sponsors. We appreciate everybody. And Mike, there's so much to talk about here. And I would just encourage people to follow up with Mike and with Kelly. And thank you everybody for your contribution and being here. And we will see you next time on Factory Fridays.
All right.
Thank
Take
you
care.
so much.
Everybody,
Take care. Thank you.
Everybody,
happy weekend.
happy weekend.
Thanks, Dale.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Kelly. It is not.